Woo! Hey, Shannon, can you hear me? Sam just asked me, does he still run the Michael Jackson for Salty Shakedown, the Michael Jackson bed?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I just asked Shannon. She said that's fine, the Michael Jackson bed. Yeah, he's a little under the weather after his vaccine yesterday. He's not feeling that good. He said he might lay his head down once he gets the segment started.
What time is yours today?
Mine is at 1:30. And no matter how, if I feel awful, I'm still got to drag myself into the Spurs game. I don't have a replacement for Spurs tonight, so I will let you know during the Spurs broadcast. Oh, and be thinking about, and it's your choice on both, either or none. You know, typically we've got Paul Alexander and James Allen. If for some reason I make the call tonight that I can't do tomorrow, let me know. I'm going to hold off on booking them until tonight, just in case, you know, you want to go in another direction, which is totally up to you if that happens. But yeah, Sam is my canary in a coal mine. So if he's not feeling good here, it's a little troubling. Pendejo, good morning. Hector Gomez, what is up? If you just heard our conversation, Sam got his vaccine number 2 yesterday, midday, I do believe, and is not feeling great this morning. So I get mine at 1:30 today. So I'm hoping. So my mom, 97, she was fine on both. My sister kind of got knocked for a loop on number 2. So who knows? Pendejo, I got mine on Saturday. Any side effects? I probably have already asked you that, but I'm losing track of who I've asked. Hector, welcome in. I think I said that, but my coffee hasn't kicked in, so I have no concept. Happy Earth Day. First held in 1970 on this day. Pull up the Wikipedia so I can get that right. Woo! No side effects for Pendejo. I like to hear that. That's what I'm pulling for myself. Let's see here. I'm still in search of a poll question. I am open to possibilities. It was Earth Day. I was going to go, what's your favorite planet? Earth, Mars, Venus, I guess since they're the 2 closest. Or your choice. Hector, I have done that a couple of times before. I don't typically sleep in the studio after a Spurs game, but in the past when we've had West Coast Spurs games that have started after 9:30 and gone until like 1 a.m. Thank you. So I have a few times, but it is not pretty. I brought an Aero bed in here once, an inflatable bed, and at the time I couldn't figure out the lights are motion generated, and I couldn't figure out how to. Every time I would move, bam, these huge lights would come on in here. Luisa, good morning.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a Thursday, but it is not just any Thursday. It is Earth Day. Happy Earth Day. First observed and celebrated in 1970. I even remember that. Get off my lawn. So here we go, Earth Day 2021. Talk a little bit about that, I am sure. It's the Chris Duel Show along with Shannon Salty Sweeney, and happy to have soundscape stylist Sam Freese. We'll talk to Sam here in a bit, but we might not be talking to him that much this morning. Not because we're rude, but that'll explain itself, I'm sure, as the show goes on. Shannon, how are you this morning?
Doing all right.
Woo!
Thursday, as we say, it's the beginning of the sports weekend. Looking forward to the Texas women's volleyball game this evening. Of course, they are taking on number 1 Wisconsin in the Final Four. I'm very much looking forward to that and hoping that they get past them here and make it to that national championship game. Texas volleyball is always so good, and they quite often make it pretty deep.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of heartbreak in recent years. So I'd love for them to get this win and move on and hopefully win a national championship.
You know, I admittedly don't know a lot about men's or women's volleyball, but I do know, as you said, Texas has been very good over the years. Stanford in the Pac-12 has been very good over the years. My alma mater, USC, has been decent, pretty good over the years. They've got a beach volleyball team at USC because they got a beach nearby that does very, very well. But I don't think of Wisconsin, and forgive me, Wisconsinites, if I'm stereotyping here, but when I think of Wisconsin, I think cheeseheads. I think of the Wisconsin football team. I think of, like corn-fed Midwesterners.
But that I think where we're going here is big people.
Right?
Like they are tall people, and tall typically plays well into volleyball.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. But see, I think tall, like Paul Bunyan kind of big. I think tall and big from Wisconsin. I don't think tall and lean.
I have no idea what they look like. So
yeah, I don't either. I know. And I'm totally stereotyping, and I'm sorry, but sometimes that happens. So, well, we may as well get this out of the way, and we will speak to him as little or as much as he cares to speak to us this morning. Sam Freese, a spectacular radio talent on loan from the Mike Taylor Show, which you listen to in the afternoons. Mike and Sam right here on both stations, AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760. I knew this morning Sam would kind of be my canary in a coal mine because he got his second COVID shot yesterday. I get mine today at 1:30. So I've told Shannon tomorrow, I may be here if I can't answer the bell. Who knows? We do have Andy Everett on call for tomorrow's show if things go south for me. And Sam, you may not feel like talking much, but just want to check in with you and see how you're feeling this morning.
Oh yeah, man. I've been better. Been better, put it that way. It's not terrible, but at about 4:30 this morning, before my alarm had even gone off, I was starting to get antsy in bed, starting to ache, and the arm, the arm's a little sore, but that's not the worst part. Like I feel like I'm just like sniffling and drainy all of a sudden when I woke up this morning, and just little under it, but I'd rather take this than the alternative. So
amen. Yeah, and I've heard some people have symptoms for and I hope it's short for you. I've heard 4 or 5 hours. I mean, there's been a whole range. I've heard some people don't get hit at all. My 97-year-old mom didn't get hit at all. Was it Pfizer? Are you doing the Pfizer? Yep.
Did Pfizer as well, and she got hit. So she did hers last Wednesday. And was, I was fine all day yesterday. I got it at 9:30 in the morning, was fine all day. And then, like I said, she got hers last Wednesday morning. And then about midday on Thursday, she was down and out for, the next 6-8 hours.
Wow.
And sleeping most of the rest of the evening. And then I woke up Friday morning and back to normal. Perfect.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's weird. It's really, really weird. I don't know how to describe it. It just felt like even as I was driving out here, I could just feel the drainage getting worse, worse as I'm driving. So,
oh man,
times, man.
You, as always, you've got a great attitude, and we feel for you, sending you positive vibes and healing energy, and hopefully the side effects you're dealing with will be short-lived. Again, I get mine today at 1:30, and I saw Sam in the hallway yesterday, Shannon. When I came in for the Spurs broadcast, I'll try to put the Spurs broadcast out of my mind, but and as Sam says, he was fine yesterday. So, you never know if or when this thing's going to hit you. Now, Shannon, when is your shot number 2? It's pretty soon, isn't it?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. Okay.
About a week and a half out.
All right. So, my goodness, what a time we live in. It's kind of an ordeal and a rite of passage. But as Sam says, and this is what I believe as well, it beats the alternative. And the alternative is getting the coronavirus without vaccine protection, because everything we're hearing, the vast and overwhelming majority of people who get the vaccine are quite protected. And even if you do get the coronavirus after the vaccine, even after that first vaccine of 2, what we're hearing from medical experts, overwhelmingly, you are going to have fewer symptoms and less invasive and perhaps life-threatening symptoms. So fun.
I want a sticker. I'm not usually a sticker person, but I want a sticker because I never got COVID. I'm a week and a half away from getting my second shot, and I have been to work every day. Most people work from home, not me. Been at work this whole time.
Yeah.
People come back to the office soon. I'm gonna be like, I run this place now. Where's my sticker?
Sam, did you get a sticker? Were there stickers available?
No, just filled out my vaccine card. That was the only sticker I got. I got a stamp, I guess, just for the date.
I have seen some people, though, get actual stickers for their shots.
I've seen those too. Yeah. And I want one.
I don't need that. I don't need like when I go vote, I don't.
Oh, I do. I want every little. I want stickers. I want street cred. I want something to take a selfie.
T-shirt.
Yeah.
I want the koozie. I feel like we deserve something for doing our jobs every day.
Yes.
How managing to, because people who work in radio. Think about it. We share these mics. With other people.
Mm-hmm.
We share the space with a lot of other people, and if anyone was going to get it, probably be radio people.
Yes. Yeah, and what people don't know, unless they've been into the studios, on the door of our studios are these long lists of guidelines. Mm-hmm. One of which is don't touch the microphone. They figured this out very early on in COVID.
Who doesn't work with the microphone?
True, but so I guess so what am I supposed to put on a glove? And you've really got to move the microphone around a lot. But lots of, and if you're on Facebook Live, lots of hand sanitizer going on here, lots of disinfecting. Although, and I'm still a freak about it, Shannon, when I walk into a studio, any studio, or any place that another human being has been, I disinfect like an absolute freak. And the latest data suggests that it's far less likely to be contracted from a surface than we thought. It's more of a through the air, somebody else's little droplets get pushed out of their mouth or their nose, and they wind up getting in contact with your system. But so the good news lately, and we've known this for a few months now, is surfaces are not as dangerous as we thought they were, but that doesn't stop me. I still disinfect.
6 feet.
Yeah.
6 feet.
Yeah. I saw a guy, where was it? It was like an exterminator came out to exterminate around the and just reflex, dude shows up, and I've been doing it for 6 decades now, reach the hand out and shake his hand, and he shook mine. I'm like, oh God, we just shook hands. Excuse me while I go wash my hands. I'm trying to get that out of my system.
Yeah.
All right. We got a lot to talk about. Man, oh man. LeBron James is kind of hitting it a little bit. He tweeted something out last night, got a lot of blowback, including from Megyn Kelly, the former Fox News anchor. He took the tweet down, and then he subsequently tweeted that He didn't like that people took his tweet the wrong way and started jumping all over him. We'll get into that and a whole lot more, everything in the world of sports. I mentioned the Spurs. They lost last night to the Miami Heat. Astros lose again. Sam's Texas Rangers with a better record than the Houston Astros. We'll get into everything we need to get into, and we're a week away from the NFL draft. Tanner Carlson going to jump in studio in the 8 o'clock hour, or the first half of the 8 o'clock hour, talk a little football with us. Right now, though, we do this 12 times throughout the day. We do this here at 6:20 and at 7:20. Your chance to win $1,000, and you're going to get a keyword. You go to the website of either Ticket 760 or AM 1300 The Zone. You pop it in at the website, and your name's in the hat to win $1,000. Here it is.
Right now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Green. That's green. Enter it now.
Green, a good color on Earth Day, a good color for Austin FC, Verde, green, or the predominant color of Austin FC. Shannon, we talked about this over the weekend, this past weekend, the first ever game for Austin FC. They took on LAFC in Los Angeles. It was 0-0 at halftime, or as the kids like to say, 0-0, I guess. And but they wound up losing that one 2-0. I imagine there's another Austin FC game this weekend. Is that right?
Yes, 8 o'clock. They are heading to Colorado to play, and hopefully we'll get our first goal.
Woo!
Hopefully we'll get our first win.
Yes.
I will be at a wedding, so I will be watching the game on my phone under the table because I'm not about that dance floor life. But again, super, super exciting. I think I'm getting to tour the stadium next week.
Oh, good for you. That's great.
I've been told that I might get a chance to go check it out. So I'm very excited.
Very, very cool.
Especially while it's all shiny and new.
And is that Q2 Stadium? Is that the official name?
Stadium. I think they're like a software company.
Yeah.
But there's just so much cool stuff going on in there, and I want to see it.
Very, very outstanding. And of course, and I don't have it. Is it in May or is it in June? Opening day at that stadium for Austin FC, June. Okay.
And they're waiting till late May to let ticket holders know their plans as far as who gets in, who doesn't, social distancing, all that stuff.
And that makes, I mean, that's smart to wait a little bit because we never know. I mean, I'm hearing on one level good things about people getting vaccinated. And so hopefully
the Rangers did for opening day.
Yeah. Yeah. And have we heard any it takes about 2 weeks, they say, for people to contract it from a super spreader event. Have we heard any blowback from Rangers opening day yet? I have not.
I have not heard anything.
Okay. So that's a good thing.
So you figure, a month and a half away, more vaccines.
Yeah.
Right.
We should just get closer and closer.
I mean, there has to be something said for these people are admitting themselves into the arena. So at that point, I don't think they could come get you for saying you let too many people in here.
True.
Like, you knew the deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mentioned, and we'll get into this a little bit later this morning, the Rangers are the best Major League Baseball team in the great state of Texas. Texas Rangers won in Anaheim last night over the Angels 7-4. So they go to 9-10 on the season, which is not impressive if you're sub 500, but they'll take it, I'm sure. And they're currently better than the 7-10 Houston Astros. Shannon, as you recall, Astros started the season at 6-1. So they have gone 1-9 over their last 10. It is not pretty. They lost to the Rockies yesterday, 6-3.
Are the haters happy now?
Probably.
Are they happy now? Still a lot of season left to be played.
True. We're 17 games in. So we shall see. But, man, it is a rocky ride right now for the Houston Astros. And as we know, they had a number of players who were out with COVID issues. A few of those are back. So we'll see if the Astros can find their footing and start winning a few more games. We'll take a quick break. Speaking of baseball, man, Oakland A's, I believe they've won 11 in a row. They started the season 0-6, the Oakland A's. That's a team that, and the Astros, I think swept the opening series against the A's. They caught them at the right time. Yep. So yeah, we'll talk some Major League Baseball. We'll talk NBA. We will talk NFL. We are a week away from the NFL draft, which has been on my radar and our radar for many, many months, and it's just a week away. We'll get into that. Tanner Carlson going to jump in here, as I mentioned, just after 8 o'clock. We stream live video on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone's Facebook pages. There's also a YouTube link to that feed. We're on Twitch as well. Coming up, the high five play of the day and a whole lot more. With you till 9, you're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Fonzie J. Rodriguez, welcome. Luisa Alanis, Adrian Cavazos, Chris Gonzalez, Tracy Bogert, Hector Gomez, Ray Harper, good morning. All right. Do I want to heat my coffee? Possibly. Lucinda Sullivan, good morning. So, Shannon, I'm going to assume you're doing this since you found it, this high five story, because I didn't look closely at it. So,
I can if you just want to comment.
Sure. Yeah. I'll pull it up. Let's see. Where did I put that? There it is. Yeah, it's been really eye-opening for the people on Facebook. We started this segment this week. We do it at 6:35, the high five play of the day, where we look for, and you can submit them to us. We'd love to hear your stories. It could be about anything. It could be in your life, sports, your kids, the world. So, you know, each of the last few mornings, Shannon has been looking, and I've been looking for positive stories in the news and in sports. And there's not a lot of them. We knew that, but when you're actively looking and you're finding that it's difficult, that's a little troubling. All right. I need a poll question, Facebook. And if not, I'm going to go with my lame, what's your favorite planet on Earth Day? Somebody submitted a poll question to me on Facebook yesterday. Where was that? Let's see. Christopher Glenn Little says this should be the poll question. In a three-way race for governor of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott versus Matthew McConaughey versus Greg Popovich, who would you vote for? I remember once when Kinky Friedman ran, I believe in 2006, we had a 4-person race. See if I can name them. It was Kinky Friedman, Rick Perry, Carol Keaton, Strahander, Rylander. She has many last names, been married many times. And Chris Bell out of Houston. Chris Bell was the Democrat. Rick Perry was the Republican. Kinky, an independent. And I think Carol Keaton Strayhorn, I don't know what banner she ran under, quite possibly libertarian at that point. I'm not sure. Or just independent. I think Chris Bell. It's back when I did News Talk Radio and I'd interview all these people on the radio over on KTSA. Adrian Cavazos, Shannon, I don't know if you see it, suggesting a high five story. Thank you, Adrian. We'll look into her. 2 open heart surgeries. Amazing. Yeah, Adrian, I will copy what you just wrote and email it to us to check it out. Possibly as early as tomorrow. So we do appreciate that. Thank you. You're the first listener/viewer to submit an idea for the high five play of the day. Yeah, and Louisa, no, the draft, the NFL draft is a week from tomorrow. And Shannon, I know Tanner wants to do we should do something. I think all of us drafting every round for the Dallas Cowboy is a little bit too into the weeds, I think. I mean, not for Tanner. It is for me. I certainly don't know fifth round draft picks available out there that might be still around when the Cowboys draft. So, but yeah, maybe we'll do something. Maybe we will. Since the Cowboys draft 10, maybe we'll each draft the top 10 and then create some kind of a point system. I don't know. All right. I got no poll question. So for Earth Day, I'm just going with what's your favorite planet? Some of these are not artistic. Some of these are not the greatest. I'm just doing this just to have one. Thank you, sir. And you're good on the music bed for this? Cool. Thanks. All right. Poll questions up. Chris Duel show along with Shannon Salty Sweeney on an Earth Day, April 22nd, 2021. Soundscape stylist Sam Freese today and tomorrow on loan from the Mike Taylor show that you can hear in the afternoons, both on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760. Sam also runs a show in San Antonio called The Sports Grind, which is quite outstanding as well. So while on the injured list this morning and today, hopefully he feels better later in the day, Sam Freese doing triple duty, which is all kinds of fun. All right. Before we do our high five play of the day on Earth Day, just because I couldn't come up with another poll question, Shannon, we do have a poll question up. Do you have that in front of you yet? If not, I can grab it.
On this Earth Day, we're asking, what is your favorite planet? Earth, Mars, Saturn, or other? I got to go Earth here because here I am.
Yeah, although the Philadelphia 76ers once had a player by the name of Daryl Dawkins who said he was from the planet Lovetron. So I've never been to Lovetron. I don't know a lot about Lovetron, but I figure of all the planets that I could maybe someday visit, Lovetron would be on the list. I'm just saying, wherever the planet Lovetron is. But yeah, I lean Earth on
Not in
Earth
this
Day.
solar system.
Yeah. Kind of a lame poll question. I own it. It's Earth Day. So what's your favorite planet? There you have it. All right. It is that time, I do believe. It is time for the high five play of the day. We've been doing it this week. We look for good stories, something to high five about. And Shannon, high five play of the day is named after a very, very cool place where you've recently done some axe throwing.
Yes, high five to Austin area locations filled with entertainment, great food, and great drinks. Get over there for happy hour from 4 to 6.
Woo!
Half off starters and discounts on drinks. Our Bree, who was our barkeep during our time there, some of my family members didn't know what they wanted to drink. They said, I want something a little fruity, not something that I can really taste the alcohol. And she whipped it up. I think she did an adult cherry limeade.
Ooh.
And everyone enjoyed their drinks. So she did a fantastic job, as well as everyone else over there at High Five. So make sure you go and check them out. Also in Austin FC Pub Club. So if you're looking for a place to watch this weekend's match with Austin FC, I highly recommend checking out High Five. All right, moving on to today's High Five play of the game. We are almost 2 weeks removed from the Masters now, and even though it feels like forever ago, because it just, when you have a week of something like the Masters followed by a week of next to nothing, that week of next to nothing just makes it feel like an eternity. But we now know some of the aftermath that has happened in Japan following Hideki Matsuyama's Masters win. Of course, it was incredible. Everyone loved when his caddy bowed to display, to give thanks back to the golf course. It was a historic win, Japan's first ever Masters winner. Well, it only took 48 hours for everything Hideki Matsuyama sponsored, gear, apparel to be sold out in Japan. A man who owns a golf shop, who's owned it for 30 years, says he's never seen anything like it. Golf in Japan, a $12 billion annual business. I can only imagine this year's number will be a little bit bigger, or maybe not with the pandemic. I don't know. But maybe Matsuyama himself saved golf in Japan during a pandemic after all of this. And he is now estimated to make $200 million throughout the rest of his career just on endorsements alone. His father owns a golf range in his hometown, and they have a lovely picture, a giant picture of Hideki now up over there. It's just, so incredible. I think the U.S., we're a little spoiled with all of our Super Bowls and our NBA championships and our, other PGA Tour wins, that we don't appreciate it as much as some of these other countries who don't get that each and every year. So it's fantastic to see all that's going on. I'm so happy for him. I mean, he doesn't seem like the guy who's going to be rolling with deep pockets, right? I mean, we saw him at the airport with his green jacket, just
Yeah.
draped over the seat next to him. Like, give me my 6 feet. We're still in a COVID era here. But I think it's fantastic. I can't believe they went out and bought everything. I mean, this is almost like a Tiger effect, I feel like, over there in Japan. But Chris, have you seen any of the aftermath over there in Japan? I mean, you got to think he's going to the Olympics right now, right, to represent them.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and I think you nailed it. It's the Tiger effect. I think the closest thing we in America could equate the Hideki Matsuyama fever that's going on in Japan right now would be Tiger, but I think it's probably even bigger. And I mean, as big as Tiger has been, there was never a moment where everything Tiger Woods was sold out everywhere across the country. And as you mentioned, that is happening now for Hideki Matsuyama. And, Japan perhaps even more so than us. I don't know this for sure, but it kind of looks that way. And a lot of countries have this. There's a special nationalism when someone wins and is on top of a sport in that country. I remember Manu Ginobili in Argentina described, he said, as much as I love winning the NBA championship, winning the gold medal for Argentina was the highlight of my life. So it's got to be huge in Japan. It's great for the sport. It's great for Japan. Obviously, in all things being equal, I pull for the Americans in any competition. But since Hideki won this Masters, it's great to just sit back, enjoy, and revel in this euphoria that's going on right now in Japan.
Yeah, and they're not just buying the little trinkets like gloves and T-shirts. They're buying $800 clubs and limited edition $920 golf bags. So they are throwing cash everywhere as it pertains to Hideki. So that's incredible. I'm sure we'll get to see more. I'm sure they'll be celebrating this entire year up until the next Masters, when, of course, he then has to host his Masters champion dinner and then give his jacket back, because you only get to keep it out for that year that you won. But I just think it's an incredible story. It's one of the rare positive stories that we're currently getting in the climate we're in. So congratulations once again to Hideki and the country of Japan, who still seems to be celebrating at this time. Well deserved. That is our high five play of the day. And I want to keep on golf real quick. And I know Sam is under the weather, but I knew he was coming in today. So I wanted to tell him that upon his recommendation, I went out yesterday and got PGA 2K21.
Woo!
And it is, I mean, if you think golf is boring, like golf on a video game is boring, but it's so insanely mindless that I sat there for hours yesterday and played. It's fantastic. So thank you, sir, because I just needed something distracting.
Now, was there a specific player that you guys play? I mean, do you?
You can't in this game. You can't play as a professional. You have to create your own character. Now, I created a man because I wanted to play with like the Tigers and all of those people. I don't know what would have happened if I did a female. I don't know any of the females on the LPGA tour. So, but they do cut shots to your competition throughout the round of who's doing what. Tony Finau was a big one yesterday that they kept cutting to. I was like, is he really that popular?
So Sam, you have this game as well?
Oh yeah. I'm already getting mad and everything. I get up early. I get up at 4 and I let my dog out and I let her eat and do her thing for almost an hour each morning. And usually I take that time to do work prep, and it took a lot in me not to turn that game on this morning and play. So I was like, I can get around in. I can go 18. I can do that real quick.
Okay, for the uninitiated though, Sam and Shannon, how do you swing? I mean, is it like a Wii? I mean, are you in a golf stance, or how is the swing accomplished from your perspective?
It is a flick of the thumb.
Flick of the thumb.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, Sam, are you using the right stick for your swing? Okay, because that was what was suggested, and that's what I went with. But as I started, I was like, I don't know if I wanted I want to change it. But okay, I feel better about it now. I feel better about my decision. Oh yeah, I put it on easy mode just so I could run through everything. But it's fantastic. Oh yeah. So if anyone is looking for something that, they've run out of things to watch, it's kind of the dead sports season, I highly recommend getting PGA 2K on whatever gaming platform you prefer. Maybe I'll start Twitch streaming myself playing as I'm like cursing myself for my poor performance on the green. Our own league.
Now, is there a capability that if Shannon, you and Sam wanted to like face off from separate locations in a tournament and push it out to Twitch, is that capability out there?
I don't know if they have crossplay on PGA 2K. If they do, then yes, but not all games currently have crossplay. Yeah, I'm an Xbox gal. Yeah, that'll probably happen next year, I would imagine. Yeah.
Very cool. Now, one more question, Sam, and I know we're probably driving you crazy because you're just trying to get through the morning.
I just wanted to say thanks.
After COVID shot number 2. But as Shannon describes, you see other players. She mentioned Tony Finau. In your play of this golf game, have you ever like been, competing directly against Tiger Woods? Has it ever like come down to you and Tiger, battling it out on the golf course?
It's because he's the cover athlete. Mm-hmm. See, I figured out how to get rid of the cutscenes because it was dragging me down. I was ready to go through the 18, like I said. No, so I got rid of them after about 6 of them all being Tony Finau.
That sounds so cool. Sounds like a lot of fun. Wow.
You get it in games, Chris.
That should be my next big thing. I mean,
reward for going through this Spurs season and how challenging it's been, particularly in this back half. You just need like that. Just relax and not think about anything but your swing.
It sounds amazing. Yeah. This game sucks. Some cranky old man on Twitch. That's what we need for a Twitch channel. Hey man, I'm open to anything. That sounds like a lot of fun. Very, very cool. We got a few minutes here. I'm sure we're going to get into this at some point today, but LeBron James last night, and of course, we talked about it yesterday, Shannon. We're coming off this verdict for Derek Chauvin, found guilty. Today it'll be 48 hours. We're moving into 2 days since Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 counts in the murder of George Floyd. And sadly, in Columbus, Ohio, about 30 minutes before the Derek Chauvin verdict came down the day before yesterday, there was a police shooting of a 16-year-old African-American girl who was in a struggle and had a knife. This is what makes this one more troubling or maybe even less cut and dry as the horrible death that came to George Floyd. Police officers came upon the scene. There was a 911 call. There was an altercation outdoors in a driveway, and a 16-year-old girl seen on the video and seen on chest cam on the police officers with a knife. And one of the police officers fired 4 shots. And again, this is obviously part of the question, why of all the ways you might be able to diffuse or disable this situation, do you need to shoot this girl 4 times in the chest? Is there another way that you might be able to diffuse the situation? But it is what it is. This is how police have been trained, and if there are calls for reform, then that's necessary. Now, the problem, and where LeBron James comes into this last night, he tweeted, I do believe, a photo of the police officer who was identified as the shooter of this 16-year-old girl in Columbus, Ohio, and in caps wrote, "You're next." And there was a lot of backlash on Twitter, including Megyn Kelly, the former Fox anchor. She wrote, "How dare you? This is disgusting and dangerous. He saved the life of a young black woman under attack. This is incredibly irresponsible." And so LeBron James subsequently, Shannon took that tweet down, tweeted out another tweet saying he was angry that, his tweet was being used for negativity and he felt was misinterpreted. And LeBron James, who obviously is very active on social media, this was one of his darker experiences overnight on Twitter.
Yeah, it was a bad move by LeBron to even post that. He has almost 50 million followers, and you just put a face to a man who, whether or not you believed he did wrong or not, he doesn't deserve just to become, a target from people because LeBron posted a picture with the caption, "You're next."
Yeah, and you think about it, had someone, or still if someone acts out and puts this police officer in danger, or tries to do something violent to this police officer, either at his home or to his family or to his property, people are going to point fingers at LeBron James here. And I don't think, I think LeBron James, and I know we're up against a break. We'll talk more about this a little later in the show. I think clearly LeBron James is outspoken about civil rights. There are certainly injustices, and have been for generations, perpetrated against African Americans in this country. And so I think LeBron James didn't think it through, was expressing frustration. But I do see where that tweet could really be interpreted very negatively. I see it both ways. We'll talk more about it coming up. In fact, we might do that in the next segment as well. We'll see everything that's breaking in the world of sports. We are a week away from the NFL draft. We'll be getting into that this morning as well with Tanner Carlson. Sam Freese making the show go this morning. Always great to have him on board. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris. Thanks for hanging out. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Ralph Balderas, good morning. Laura Burris, good morning. Roger Salazar, good morning. Welcome in. I am going to go refresh some coffee. Carl Fisher, absolutely. We will give you a birthday shout out. Happy birthday. In fact, I saw that this morning when I woke up, Carl. I saw that on Facebook. So we'll do that. Armando Salinas. Taro Kotani, what is up, Taro? Manuel Gonzalez, I did not see the Candace Owens video about LeBron's tweet. Any idea where we can find it? Let me put Candace Owens in the search engine on. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I see her now. Let me Wow, okay. I see on her Twitter a link to an Instagram. Oh, great. It wants me to log into Instagram here, which I can't do from here. I don't know my Instagram credentials. Great. Why do people have to make it difficult? And why can't Instagram just give me the video without having to log in? See if login with Facebook lets me do that. God, this is ridiculous. No, I don't want to do that because it's asking me to sign up, and I already have an Instagram account. So if I ever want to link it to my Twitter or my Facebook, so I'm not going to do that. Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for the link. All right, let's see if I can get some audio in here, which is never easy. And it's not working. See, can I unmute that site? Unmute. 10 minutes and 45 seconds. Manuel, our break isn't that long. We're back in 4. Candace Owens, less is more.
And glorifying them and getting them to say statements that direct Black people into a nefarious direction. So I want to comment right now on the situation going on with Ma'Khia Bryant, because if you at any moment have doubted what I have been telling you, what I have been telling Black Americans in terms of what the goal is, then this situation should add clarity for you. I don't know what Black Lives Matter was ever supposed to be about, okay? I really don't. I've always thought it was a fraudulent organization, and I saw it coming from a mile away, and, congratulations to Grant Taylor's mom for calling them fraud after her daughter's face was used. In this situation today with Ma'Khia Bryant, if that's how you say her name, Ma'Khia Bryant, the 16-year-old who was in the process of trying to stab another Black woman to death, and got shot and killed by police officers who saved the life of the Black girl who she was trying to kill, okay? She was trying to kill her. That is what you do. That is what you are trying to accomplish. When you take a knife and you try to stab someone repeatedly, you are trying to commit murder, okay? This woman, young lady, if you'd like to call her, got stopped in the middle of a crime, in the middle of a...
Thank you, Manuel. I will watch the rest of that coming up. Carl Fisher, this is the big 4-0. Wow. That's a big birthday. Happy birthday. Yeah, new child surgery. And you almost have as much novelty in your month of April as does Trevor Lawrence. Number 1 overall pick, getting married, hanging out at the Masters with Patrick Mahomes. me go see LeBron's Twitter. Thank you.
This is the Chris Duel Show. You know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Try to run.
Amen, Carl.
Now, Chris Duel.
Happy Earth Day. Today is Earth Day, April 22nd. Been celebrating Earth Day. The planet has since 1970. So we're looking at Earth Day number 51, apparently. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Sam Freese, our very special soundscape stylist today and tomorrow, on loan from the Mike Taylor Show. You hear Mike's show in the afternoons at 4, both on Ticket 760 and AM 1300, The Zone. Great to have Sam on board. If you were listening in the 6 o'clock hour, you know that Sam got his second COVID vaccine yesterday. He's having some side effects this morning, but he is answering the bell. We'll see if I answer the bell tomorrow. I'm having my shot today at 1:30, doing the Spurs radio thing tonight. Spurs coming off a tough loss last night. It was nip and tuck at halftime. In fact, the Spurs were up at halftime. Spurs took a 7-point lead over the Miami Heat early in the third quarter, and then Miami went on an 18-4 run in that third quarter, Shannon, and it was Spurs just were reeling and never recovered and wound up losing last night by 20. So much for the 3-game winning streak that the Spurs were hoping to accomplish last night. So much for getting a home win. It's been a crazy year in that the Spurs have a 16-10 record on the road. I believe they're now 12-19 at home. But the good news, they get another shot tonight. Detroit coming off a loss. I think they lost to your beloved Dallas Mavericks last night. So Detroit doing a tour of Texas. So it's not only a back-to-back for the Spurs tonight, it's a back-to-back for Detroit. And for Detroit, it's a back-to-back on the road. And if there's a team that the Spurs can get well against, we would think it would be Detroit tonight. So we'll see what happens.
I hope the best for you, but not really.
Come on.
That separation that was good last night. That was good for me. Spurs lost, Mavs win. 3 games ahead.
You've got to see the light. You've got to join.
And Tanner was there. We'll need to talk to Tanner.
Tanner was at the Spurs game?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, perks of the job, okay. Like, I would go. I've never been.
Oh, heck yes.
But, I mean, maybe he jinxed him by being a Mavs fan.
He probably did.
Game where the Mavs were not the opponent.
Speaking of jinxing, I know a guy. In fact, he married my niece, Allison. His name is Eric Schultz. He lives in the Dallas area, but he grew up in San Antonio. So to jinx the Mavericks, the last time the Spurs played the Mavericks in a playoff series, he got water from the San Antonio River walk. He went down to the river and in a little container got water. And then he went to American Airlines Center in Dallas right before the first playoff game between these two teams. I'm forgetting how many years ago this was. We could look it up. But he poured out onto the court. Not on the court of play, but on the surface, just off the court, but on the court itself, poured out water from the San Antonio River onto the Mavericks court. And I do believe the Spurs won that night. And he did it specifically to jinx the Dallas Mavericks.
Well, I'm happy for him that he thinks that.
Yes.
Thing.
Well, and you just said Tanner Carlson, and we'll talk to him in less than an hour here in studio, being his very presence in the Spurs AT&T Center last night as a Mavericks fan could have jinxed the Spurs last night.
There's so few people there that if you yell loud enough, I feel like your voice could be heard. Right? So if he was that guy.
Yeah.
Wearing the Mavs gear, rooting for the team that isn't even there.
If he had a press credential, we'll ask him.
The Spurs free throw attempts,
I don't want him using a 1200 WOAI flagship station of the San Antonio Spurs press credential and wearing his Mavs gear to a Spurs game.
But you never know.
Tanner.
We weren't there to witness it.
I will wag my finger at him here in studio coming up. By the way, Shannon, and we've talked about him. We've got such cool listeners across the board, but certainly some of them we see a lot on Facebook Live. If you're new to the show, we stream live video on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's Facebook page. There's a YouTube link. I saw Laura Burris joined us on the YouTube link to that same video feed this morning. It's also on Twitch. And we mentioned, Shannon, and you were the first to mention this a few days ago, Carl Fisher, a regular listener / viewer. He and his wife had a new baby daughter just the other day. And Carl Fisher, what a month for him. Today is his 40th birthday. So happy big 4-0 to our good friend Carl Fisher this morning.
Happy birthday, sir.
Woo!
You have a 4 in front of your age now.
That is
about putting a 3 in front of there.
Yeah. I having done both of those, I've done the 3-0 and I've done the 4-0. I've also done the 5-0. But it's the 4-0 is a big one.
Okay. So I'm okay with the 3.
Oh, you'll be fine. It is, as you approach it, it's weird, I remember, but then you get there and you go, I feel the same day today as I did yesterday when I was 29. So you realize you kind of feel the same. So, plus you made it past 27 already, so you won't be in the 27 club.
Correct.
Thank God.
I'm going to create my own club.
Yes.
Number to be determined.
I'm in the to be determined club. I like that. Very, very good. Somebody sent me and you on Facebook Live. In fact, it was Manuel Gonzalez. We were talking about this before the break. 30 minutes before the Derek Chauvin guilty on all 3 counts verdict in the George Floyd murder came down in Minneapolis. Across the country in Columbus, Ohio, there was a 911 call for a fight that was going on in a driveway, and somebody had a knife, and it turned out that a 16-year-old girl had a knife. Her name, Micaiah Bryant. Police officers showed up. It was, you can see from the body cams, there's multiple video cam footage that has already been released. And oh, by the way, a credit to law enforcement and the mayor of Columbus, Ohio. They have said we want to be absolutely as transparent as possible. We want to release all the video we can as soon as possible. We want everybody to see what went down. And what went down was, and you can clearly see from the video, Micaiah Bryant has a knife and is lunging toward another, I'm assuming another girl, since Micaiah was 16. I'm assuming this other woman was around the same age. I don't know that for sure. But pretty quickly in that video, the police officer fires 4 shots, and there's a freeze frame of that video that the Columbus Police Department put out where moments before the shooting, you see Micaiah Bryant with the knife, and she is rearing back with that knife and getting ready to lunge at another woman or girl, whichever the case may be, with that knife. Now, as we mentioned, Shannon, LeBron James, in all caps, wrote "You're next" and put the photo of the police officer out there. A number of people, including Megyn Kelly, the former Fox News anchor, who has since, I think, been on the Today Show and a number of other things. Also, another conservative talk show host. I think she's got a gig on Fox. I know she's on Fox a lot. She's also a conservative author, Candace Owens, who just because this is radio, and I just looked at her parts of her video. It's about a 10-minute video she put out there. Candace Owens is African American. She is critical of the Black Lives Matter movement, as many conservative voices are. But she points out that this is not, and she was very critical of LeBron James's initial tweet. Shannon, she said, you need to think about that police officer actually, in Candace Owens' opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion, by shooting Ma'Khia Bryant, could very well have, and Candace says he did, save the life of the other woman who could have been on the receiving end of a fatal stabbing. I mean, it's a very gray, ugly area, but it is certainly something, Shannon, that LeBron James has stepped into. And before I get your reaction, I'll read the tweets that LeBron James put out after he took down his tweet, which had the photo of the police officer who was identified to have fired the 4 fatal shots at Ma'Khia Bryant. And LeBron wrote in all caps, "You're next," among other things. When he took those down, and these are on LeBron James' Twitter page right now. He's on Twitter at King James. LeBron wrote subsequently, quote, "I'm so damn tired of seeing black people killed by police. I took the tweet down because it's being used to create more hate. This isn't about one officer. It's about the entire system, and they always use our words to create more racism. I am so desperate for more accountability." And he put accountability in all caps. One other tweet from LeBron, still up at his site, in all caps, the word anger to start it. Anger does any of us any good, and that includes myself. I think he meant to write doesn't. Gathering all the facts and educating does, though. My anger still is here for what happened to that little girl. My sympathy for her family, and may justice prevail. A praying emoji, a fist emoji, a heart emoji, and a crown emoji, I believe, for King James. So, yeah, LeBron James, Shannon, he is, and I like this about him. He does not shy away from social and cultural issues, and it got a little bit volatile overnight for LeBron James.
Take the case and the matters of what happened out of it, because I'm certainly not equipped to speak on it. So leaving my opinion of that out of it, but just looking at LeBron as the figure he is, again, 49.6 million followers on Twitter. I'm sure he's in the millions on Instagram and any of his social platforms. And you tweet out a photo of anyone and say, "You're next," with a time capsule, whatever image next to it, that is going to incite lots of feelings, immediate feelings, mostly anger. And so when he references create more hate, I think the hate was more towards him rather than a certain community that he may or may not be referring to. And that he, as LeBron, he's kind of like KD, he says things sometimes before he really thinks about them. And then, he acts out of instinct, and that can come back to bite you. And he talks about accountability. You took down the picture. Is that what you think is considered accountability? You want accountability? How about you realize that you have 50 million plus people following you who look up to you, and that's not just in this country, but around the world. And you're going to do something like that and then request account. You need to be accountable for yourself first before you can start asking for accountability from others. And, I know other people are now, like, China's being brought into the conversation, right? Because that NBA relationship with China is considered really damning. And everyone from the top down in the NBA has been really quiet on it. The last thing we really heard about it was when, the Houston GM made some ruffles and he lost his job for it. And I don't even know if that was right. But for LeBron to, I get it. We're all, in the times we're in, COVID on top of it, everything is heightened. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't take the time to sit back, reflect, gather the facts, because I don't think he had all the facts.
Yeah.
Before we speak, and then when we do speak, realize who we're speaking to. Because he's this happened more than 12 hours ago, and he's still trending right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
people are waking up to this.
Not only LeBron James, he represents the Lakers, he represents the NBA, he represents Nike, he represents his school. there's so much more than just LeBron, and I don't think that was in the back of his mind when he sent out this photo.
All great points, and we'll continue on this in just a moment. But right now at 7:20, we do this at 6:20 and 7:20 on this show, but we do it throughout the day 12 times, both on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone. Sam Free's about to hit it here. You're going to get a keyword, then you go to the website, whichever station you're listening to, AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. You'll see it right away if you go to the website. You pop in that keyword where you were directed to, and you got a shot. Your name's in the hat for $1,000. Here it comes.
Here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Budget. That's budget. Enter it now.
Budget is the keyword. Good luck. You get a lot of shots throughout the morning as well. Couple of things on Facebook Live. First of all, Brian Castano says, good morning. It's my first time watching on YouTube Live. So cool. Thank you, Brian. And thanks for everybody watching on YouTube or Facebook Live or via Twitch. So good to have you on board, Brian. And then Sam Tobias writes, LeBron needs to think a little more before sending out a tweet. To put that quote, "you're next" on a tweet, you're doing more harm than good. And that's pretty much, is part of what you just said, Shannon. And I would agree with that. And to LeBron's credit, and obviously a lot of people can pile on LeBron, and it is kind of interesting when I see people from the right piling on LeBron, like Candace Owens, who's on Fox a lot, like Megyn Kelly, who spent most of her career and ascended on Fox News. And not to disparage Fox News here, but it was Laura Ingraham when originally Black Lives Matter was beginning to happen. And Laura Ingraham of Fox famously said about LeBron James, "Shut up and play basketball." I think LeBron James went too far in this tweet. People jumped on him for it. I get it. They probably should have in general. He, to his credit, did take it down and did then, we just read the tweets, express his frustration in the moment. And to a certain extent, Shannon, you and I are on the radio talking, a mile a minute for 3 hours every day. Sometimes I say stupid things that I hadn't thought through. You probably a lot less than I do, to your credit, but I know I've said things that as they come out of my mouth, I go, oh, I wish I could bring that back. I didn't say that exactly the way I felt it. So on a certain level, and you mentioned, and you're right too, LeBron James has 49 million plus followers, so he's got a responsibility to everybody, including the Lakers and the NBA and everybody he represents. But I also think that if you're willing to rethink what you said or better explain what you said, or in this case, LeBron took that tweet down, we're having a conversation, and that's part of what Twitter is. And I know it gets ugly a lot, and I don't like that about Twitter, but I almost prefer LeBron James being real and being real in the moment and expressing what he feels in the moment. I prefer that to a Michael Jordan back in his day as a player who would not engage in social or cultural issues because he famously said, Republicans buy sneakers too. So I don't want to offend anybody. So I agree with you that this tweet was wrong and ill-conceived, but I welcome and I tend to benefit from LeBron James's perspective, and I'm glad that he puts it out there.
LeBron has done so much in just his short time. I mean, we talk about Kobe and all the things that he could have done in his post-NBA career, and I'm sure LeBron will continue to do wonderful things for the communities that he's involved in. With this, and I understand he took that original tweet down, but even the stuff he posted after, to me, is still, it's not taking accountability for what he already did, because as we know, everything that goes on the internet stays forever.
Yeah.
But I don't knock him for being an advocate for better and for change. I would, that's never something that's going to come out of my mouth. And I agree, like we talk a mile a minute, but something like that, where you find a picture
Yeah.
and then post the picture and think of a caption. Like, I can see him doing like "you're next," and then he's got like maybe a rival opponent that's also his friend off the court that they're gonna face in the next Laker game.
Yeah.
But something like that in these times, specifically, everything that's already been going on this week. I don't know how many yes men he has around him, but none of them apparently he either checked with beforehand to say, "Is this okay?"
Yeah.
Because I think anyone in the right mind would have said, "Absolutely not."
True. And you bring up a great point about superstars. Very few of them anywhere. If you're a big actor, if you're a big rock and roll star, if you're LeBron James, and even on a lower level, Deshaun Watson has been in the news a lot. There must have been some people who are close to Deshaun Watson who maybe had an inkling of what he was doing, who should have said, "Dude, you can't behave like this." But as you ascend on a power level, a lot of these stars in whatever sport or business they're in tend to have a lot of yes men and yes women and not a lot of accountability. So totally agree with you on that. Coming up, we are moments away from Shannon's salty shakedown, always enlightening and entertaining. We'll also bring you this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Don't forget, we are a week away from the NFL draft. Tanner Carlson, who may or may not have been wearing Mavs gear at the Spurs game last night. We'll talk to him about that. We'll talk to him about the NBA draft and a whole lot more. Your phone calls along the way. You want to jump in, react to LeBron James, react to anything we're talking about. Phone number 800-707-9760. Sam Freese on loan from the Mike Taylor Show is our soundscape stylist today and tomorrow. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Jared Taylor, good morning on YouTube. All right, how am I on coffee? I think I'm going to wait. Ralph Balderas, Jason Paniagua, good morning. Taro Kotani in here from Tokyo. I saw Taro, I don't know if you're still in here right now, but I saw Taro Kotani in here earlier, and he posted a photo, or somebody did, of the game last night, and you can see Taro's cutout, and behind Taro is former San Antonio Spur Bruce Bowen, who just got the gig as the head basketball coach at TMI Episcopal here in San Antonio. And we are working on getting Bruce Bowen on the show here sometime very, very soon, which would be cool. His people seem to suggest that he will come on the show, which would be fun. All right, I am going to grab the tripod for Tanner, even though we're a half an hour out on that. The tripod. Woo! That's right, Taro. You've got a Bruce Bowen jersey. I forgot about that. I mean, I didn't forget about it, but in just talking about Bruce Bowen, I forgot about that connection. Very cool. Yeah, I saw sitting next to Bruce Bowen, looked like Tony Parker right behind you with your cutouts, which was cool. John Williams, I trust. I'm noticing Sam has stepped out of the studio for a moment, but I trust he will see your greeting this morning from Dallas. Good morning. Yeah, Taro, we would love to get you back on. Tubby McFats on Earth Day, we're asking, what's your favorite planet? And Tubby McFats says, Uranus, baby. Thank you, Tubby McFats. I still want to see the planet Lovetron, where Daryl Dawkins is from. Wow. I'm seeing a story. Did this come out today? Yeah. 8:04. The Perseverance rover on Mars just made oxygen on Mars. This is a big deal for future human trips to Mars. From CNN, the Perseverance rover may be parked at an overlook. All right, we're almost back. The rover successfully converted some of the plentiful carbon dioxide on Mars into oxygen as a first test of its MOXIE instrument, which is Mars Oxygen. All right. Welcome back to the Chris Duel Show. Music provided by Sam Freese, our soundscape stylist today and tomorrow, on loan from the Mike Taylor Show. I notice on Facebook Live, Taro Kotani joins us. Taro, the greatest international Spurs fan. He's in Tokyo, Japan. He has traveled 16 times. So, Shannon, did you say earlier you have not been to a Spurs game yet at the AT&T Center? Mm-hmm. So, Taro, you live in Austin. Mm-hmm. Taro lives in Tokyo. And he's traveled he's been to more than 16 because he goes to multiple games whenever he flies in from Tokyo. But
been to a Justin Timberlake concert or two there.
And did we say 18? Do you have the number on Justin Timberlake concerts?
It was double digits. I remember that.
Now, so who is Justin Timberlake married to?
Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel. I saw last night. There's this. I have Hulu. I've got like a bunch of the streaming services because I have no life and I just sit at home and watch TV. But there's a new series on Hulu called Cruel Summer. And I didn't know about the Jessica Biel thing. So I'm looking at the preview last night with my wife, and it says created by Jessica Biel, Cruel Summer. And she goes, oh, yeah, Jessica Biel is married to Justin Timberlake. And I thought, well, obviously Shannon must know that. And Shannon just might have a Jessica Biel voodoo doll if she's married to Justin Timberlake. I'm just saying.
No dolls in my home.
All right.
I only want the best for him.
Which would be you. Come on. So hence we need to get you a voodoo doll.
No.
All right. I'm not beyond voodoo dolls.
I've accepted it and moved on.
All right.
They've been married since 2012.
Really?
So I've had time to grieve.
Wow, a Hollywood marriage together going on 9 years or at 9. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare in show business.
2007.
Woo! It's serious.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So anyway, shout out to Taro Kotani on Facebook Live, and I see our good friend Don Haas Holding. We're going to have him on the show next week. What's cool about him is he's 59 years old. He lost a ton of weight and decided to pursue his dream at age 59 of becoming a professional wrestler. And he will make his wrestling debut in Castroville on April 30th. So Don Haas Holding, the wrestler, going to join us next week on the show, which is very, very cool. All right. In a moment, it is time for Shannon's Salty Shakedown. But before that, how about some sports birthdays? And this day in sports history. There's the music. This day in 1914 was Babe Ruth's first professional game as a pitcher. A lot of people don't remember this or know this about Babe Ruth. Yeah, he was the home run king. He was also a pretty darn good pitcher. His first game as a pitcher in 1914, he allowed 6 hits in a 6-0 win. Not too shabby. This day in 1915, for the first time ever, the New York Yankees donned pinstripes on their uniforms and unveiled the hat in the ring logo. It's been around since 1915, over 100 years. On this day in 1947, the first Basketball Association of America finals, the Philadelphia Warriors beat the Chicago Stags 83-80 to take the inaugural series 4-2. That would later morph into the NBA. Speaking of the NBA, this day in 1954, the NBA adopts the 24-second clock and a 6-team foul rule. This day in 1959, New York Yankee Whitey Ford strikes out 15 batters, beating the Washington Senators 1-0 in 14 innings. This day in 1969, American boxer Smokin' Joe Frazier knocks out Dave Zieglewick in the first round to retain his boxing title at the Astrodome in Houston, Texas. This day in 1981, Dodgers rookie Fernando Valenzuela tosses his 3rd shutout in 4 starts. Fernando Valenzuela, before he was called up to the LA Dodgers, played in San Antonio for the San Antonio Dodgers. They were affiliated at the time at V.J. Keefe Field on the campus of St. Mary's University. And finally, someone I want on this show, Shannon, this day in 1994, ice skater Tanya Harding sued ex-husband Jeff Gillooly for $42,500. That doesn't sound like a lot of money to sue him for, at least in 1994 dollars.
Right. She may have known that was all he was worth. So
That's
she
true.
might as well just take all she can get.
Yeah, for Jeff Gillooly, $42,500 is a lot of money, probably. All right, so there you have it. Someday, I have a dream, Shannon, to have Tanya Harding on as a guest on the show. I'm just saying.
It's a good dream to have.
You got to have dreams. You got to have dreams. How about some sports birthdays? Thank you, John. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, George. Thank you, Ringo. Only 3 of them. Born on this day in 1949, American Basketball Hall of Fame forward Spencer Haywood. He won Olympic gold in 1968. He won the NBA championship with the Lakers in 1980, an NBA All-Star from 72 to 75, and he was the ABA. I am partial to the ABA. Spencer Haywood was the ABA All-Star Game MVP in 1970. He was born in Silver City, Mississippi on this day in 1949. Born on this day in 1961, Jeff Hostetler, also known as Hoss, NFL quarterback for the New York Giants, the Oakland Raiders, and the Washington football team. Phil Simms got injured in the 1990 Super Bowl, or before the 1990 Super Bowl, so Jeff Hostetler quarterbacked the New York football Giants under Bill Parcells to the 1990 Super Bowl championship. And finally, born on this day in 1986, he's 35 years old today. Happy birthday to Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch, the running back. Beast Mode, born in 86, turns 35 today. Happy birthday, Beast Mode. There you have it, sports birthdays and this day in sports history. And now you've been waiting for it, and here it is, your daily salty shakedown.
All right, Cowboys fans, we know you wear your heart on your sleeve. Okay.
No.
But we need to read carefully before we start commenting on people's Twitters.
Uh-oh.
Okay, because Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, does not have a Twitter. As far as I know, I don't think he's on any social platform. So knowing that, this should have never happened. But because Mike McCartney does have a Twitter, he is verified and a former NFL pro scout. He tweets a lot about football. And because we are 1 week away from the draft, he tweeted out yesterday, can be a big difference between studying NFL draft prospects and simply watching them. Very few people outside of the 32 teams have studied the majority of the top players, yet so many people have very strong opinions on who can or cannot play. I'm personally not listening. So someone seeing this and thinking that was Coach Mike McCarthy tweeted, this coming from a guy who wasted Aaron Rodgers' career. Now, if you click on that tweet and you can continue reading, Cowboys fans also pile on. Please don't do this to Dak. You know, that's very rich. And then there's also people in there who already know that this guy is not Mike McCarthy. He's Mike McCartney. And that they follow him just to read the tweet responses because people just don't apparently take the couple of minutes it takes to realize that this is not the head football coach, but a former pro scout. I love that he plays along because he then retweeted that Aaron Rodgers response and said, my legacy. to rile people up even more. Chris, I sent you this yesterday. When I first sent it to you, did you think Mike McCarthy, or did you realize that this is not your Dallas Cowboys head coach?
Well, luckily, at first glance, when you don't stop and read closely, you go, "Oh, okay, that's Mike McCarthy." But yeah, when you slow down a little bit and look closer, you see it's Mike McCartney. And another interesting thing about this, the actual guy, Shannon, he is the son of former head coach at Colorado, Bill McCartney. Football fans will remember Bill McCartney was the Colorado head football coach from 1982 to 1994. So Mike McCartney is the son of former head coach at Colorado, Bill McCartney. But it is, and it looks like as you peruse his Twitter, Shannon, Mike McCartney seems to enjoy stupid Cowboy fans who think he's Mike McCarthy. He kind of baits them a little bit with his tweets.
Oh, yeah, and why not? I mean, it's super easy, right? I mean, Cowboys fans will fight to the death for their team, whether they're right or wrong. And I love it. I mean, I'm almost thinking that the Cowboys should set up a Mike McCarthy Twitter account just so it's there and verified. He never has to actually use it. They could just retweet Cowboys stuff all the time if they wanted to. But maybe it would take some of the heat off of Mike McCartney, because I'm sure every now and then he gets tweets that aren't so fun. Again, knowing just how passionate some NFL fans can be. And as we saw, not only Cowboys fans, but Packers fans still going after him for what they believe to be the downturn and the waste of the Packers with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. All right, keeping it in the NFL, we're moving on to the Eagles. And I never like talking about the Eagles, but I feel like this needs mentioning because yesterday, new head coach Nick Sirianni, well, he was doing a press conference and they were talking about, of course, the upcoming draft and how Zoom meetings were going with these potential draftees. And he said that they've been playing games, the Jeopardy style games, things of that nature to kind of pick their brain. The popular question that sometimes ends up happening at these meetings for various teams is, if you could be an animal, what kind of animal would you be? Right. And there's all sort of psychoanalysis that goes on there. Well, he was playing rock, paper, scissors with people he was interviewing on Zoom. Not only that, he was giving them trash talk and he was trying to see just how competitive they were. He says there's different levels of compete to people, and you can really find out how competitive someone is by playing a game like rock, paper, scissors. Now, I don't know about that. I kind of feel for the guys that are on these meetings because they are super awkward. Sometimes they get asked really invasive questions. They don't know what's coming ahead of time. And then you have a coach just like, hey, let's play rock, paper, scissors. And you're trying to be likable and personable, right? I don't know if you want to come off as this overly competitive dude, because you could be completely competitive and all out on the football field and a hit him in the face kind of guy. But then off the field, you could, you don't want to harm a butterfly. So why would I get all aggressive over a game like rock, paper, scissors? But I thought this was hilarious. And again, it just goes to show the times we're in where things are just not the same in the NFL and the draft process. Are you competitive enough to get all up in arms over a game of rock, paper, scissors, especially if it was your potential new employer?
I'm not. And it's funny when you just said that, Shannon, about a guy who might be hyper competitive on the football field, but not off the field. The way you just described that, it reminded me of Mr. Cowboy Bob Lilly. Bob Lilly was a beast. We talked about Beast Mode's birthday today. Bob Lilly was a beast defensive tackle, Hall of Famer, would destroy you on the football field. And I've had him in person on the radio a couple times and met him. Nicest guy in the world off the field, and always was. And his hobby is photography. He loves taking pictures of landscapes, and he's not at all a mean, competitive guy off the field. So I think it's, and I wonder, Shannon, is rock, paper, scissors even a thing with the current crop of people coming up in the NFL who grew up on video games and handheld phones? Are they playing rock, paper, scissors even in elementary school? I'm not so sure.
That's a good point. And it's a really kind of difficult game to set the rules in place because so many people show on different, rock, paper, scissors show, rock, paper, scissors, and they show on scissors. I mean, you got to set the terms before you start playing that game. But also, if you're that competitive with rock, paper, scissors where you're like trash talking and getting angry about it, then I don't think I want to be friends with you.
No.
I don't want, like, I accidentally eat the wrong cookie off the plate and then we have, the World War III has broken out. We don't need that kind of energy to be around us. So I'm sure guys now, after hearing him speak about rock, paper, scissors like this, are now thinking back to their interview and going, damn, should I played rock there? Should I have played rock and like really thrown it down on that? I wonder what he was looking at. So I love it. And I am also a little confused by a very Eagles thing to do, I will say. And finally, for today's Salty Shakedown, I want to talk a little bit of Hook'em news because, of course, we are getting ready for the annual Orange and White game where actually it's going to be available for people. It's actually going to get played this year. It's going to be wonderful. I hope the weather is much nicer than it has been these last couple of days where it feels freezing for Texan in April. And the players. They spoke to the local media earlier this week. You can find that on the Chris Duel Show blog page. But Mr. Bijan Robinson, a profound player for the Texas offense and a pretty elite running back, was on SiriusXM speaking to Ari Timken yesterday. And this is what he had to say about the new vibe of the team.
Different system of offense. Actually, the whole team, just the vibe has been, a lot different. We enjoy being here, getting to, meet new coaches and just seeing how he, operates as a personality. And it's been great ever since, he's got here. And just the vibe of the team, how we walk around, how we do things, from last year. Last year we were, sometimes we got down, sometimes we got, back up sometimes. But this time it's just, all of us, coming together and just having fun out there and not really thinking about nothing except trying to do the best that we can. So we just bring in that energy and we play a lot faster now. It's not really a thinking a deal, or it's just like sometimes come to practice a little lackadaisical sometimes. We're always up for energy because they always bring that energy as coaches, and it's not like negative energy. It's like energy that we want to play for these coaches, and how Coach Sarkisian says all gas no breaks. Literally all gas no breaks because we're just always going, not really having a chance to stop and think about things. So that's what makes practice so much better, and to keep us where we're at right now is a good look for the fall.
We love it. We love it. We love it. A little bit of a backhandedness towards maybe the previous coaching staff, if you really wanted to nitpick there. But we love that players are excited to go to practice and that the coaches are bringing the exact same amount of energy to practice that they want the players to have. It seems like everyone truly is all in on Steve Sarkisian and the all gas, no brakes method that they're bringing to Texas. And it's exciting times to be a Longhorn with the Texas football program, new head coach, new stadium. Players just seem to be happy and healthy and ready to get back on the field. I'm sure they're going to have a ton of fun this week, and I'm so sad I can't make it. I will be watching on LHN for every minute that I can. We've obviously got Texas volleyball tonight in the Final Four, taking on Wisconsin. Make sure you tune in to that. It is the late one. I believe it starts at 9:00 tonight. So hopefully, if you are lucky enough to stay up and watch the whole thing, it doesn't go too late for you because, everybody's got a bedtime, Chris. Everybody's got to go to bed at some point because we got jobs to go to in the morning. And then, of course, Texas baseball, as we mentioned, they were on a hot streak. They have now won 14 straight after defeating Texas State the other day.
Whoa.
They will take on Oklahoma State in a series this weekend up in Stillwater, so hopefully they can keep that going. But it's so exciting to be a Longhorn right now. Again, basketball, they've been sharing a lot of stuff on social of Chris Beard. That season feels like it just ended, and they're already on the floor working. Transfers are coming in, and they're coming in hot, and they are highly recruited and highly ranked players. This is so exciting. I drink all the Kool-Aid. I know some people are a little hesitant after what we've been through in years past, but I am drinking all the Kool-Aid and I'm sharing. I brought extra cups and I brought straws for everyone. Because yes, I still use straws. My teeth are sensitive. I use straws. If you want to use your reusable straw, that's okay. I can handle that. But I've got cups of Kool-Aid and I'm passing it out for everybody. Of course, it is orange Kool-Aid, burnt orange Kool-Aid, because we are all gas, no brakes, and hook 'em over here on the 40 acres and in Austin and in Central Texas. That's all I've got for the Salty Shakedown today. I'm just amped.
Wow.
I'm amped, Chris.
A lot of passion there for the Longhorns and the Kool-Aid there in the last few minutes.
Drinking it.
Woo!
It's good. It's ice cold.
And I believe in that too. I drink the Kool-Aid. Whatever your team is or your school, be all in. I'm that way with the Spurs. I'm that way with the Cowboys, even though it pains me. I go all in on the Cowboys. I have high hopes at the beginning of a season. Yeah, and then
our year.
I attack Mike McCartney on Twitter, telling me he sucks as a coach.
All in, you gotta go with anybody who could be mistaken for the head coach. Yes,
Mike McCartney, very, very good. Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys and the NFL, coming up, our good friend Tanner Carlson, 1 week out from the NFL draft. He is about as locked into the draft as anyone I personally know. We will also see if we should chastise him about his bringing that negative Dallas Maverick mojo into the AT&T Center last night. Tanner Carlson next. Sam Freese is your soundscape stylist on loan from the Mike Taylor Show. She is the amped Shannon Salty Sweeney. One more hour. We're with you till 9:00. Thanks for hanging out on the Chris Duel Show. John Williams, funny. Steve Duraco, good morning. Beth Settle, good morning. Welcome in. Don Holding says, with this cool weather, Steve Duraco may be doing his polar bear swims in July. Don, Steve Duraco is to cold water as you are to the wrestling ring. He is fearless when it comes to cold water. Me, not so much. I like that water to be 85 degrees if possible. So I'm getting my COVID shot number 2 today. In the last few minutes, I've got and I normally don't get headaches, but I've got like a mild headache, just mild. I just feel it, a little pressure. I haven't had the shot yet. Is it a flash forward of my COVID shot that I'm going to get today at 1:30? Can it affect me in the past when I haven't even had it yet? Probably not. But it's weird. I normally don't get headaches. That's weird. So if I got a headache now and I haven't gotten the shot yet, woo, should be fun. Jason says, take something beforehand. It's my second shot, Don. It's the Pfizer shot. It's shot number 2. Sam Freese had it yesterday, and he is feeling effects this morning. I do the Spurs broadcast tonight. I've told Shannon to be ready on Friday, and I think we've got Andy Everett on call who would join in if I can't answer the bell tomorrow for whatever the reason. But hopefully I'm good to go. Take OJ and ibuprofen, says Carl. Jason says Tylenol or Aleve. I did read in the literature they recommend you drink at least 16 ounces of water an hour before you get it. So I'll be guzzling some water later today. John, as you can see, Shannon stepped out, but we've talked about that, the Eyes of Texas. And while she is, I'll let her speak for herself at some point for you when she's here. But I think while she's very sensitive to the issues surrounding it and its origins, I think she's on the side that it's, as long as you're mindful of what aspects of it can offend people, it's I think a lot of people there believe it's a long-standing tradition, and I think that's the policy of the university now, so they're going to continue it. Yolanda says everyone has been experiencing different reactions. Thankfully, I was only tired for 2 days. Well, luckily, I've been tired since February of 2020 when I started the mornings, so hopefully that'll be. My mom, I was all excited about this. My mom is 97 and had no reaction to either shot. So I'm like, yeah, woo, got my DNA. Then I read that the older you are and elderly people have less of a reaction than younger people. And then subsequent to that, my sister had her second shot last week and had some very uncomfortable side effects. So we'll see what happens. I have to send my sister a text. I'm talking about Beth, John, but I have another sister in town right now from California, and she's staying at my mom's, and today is trash day. So I need to remind her to take out the trash and the recycling at my mom's this morning. So I got to send that text while I can. Dean, is that right? I have not heard when they're going to have Fiesta. June would be nice. Hot. That'll be a little weird, but oh well. At least it'll be Fiesta. Yeah, Jason, I think November would be kind of a fun month for Fiesta. I think the weather would be just about right. You know, at this point, since we didn't have it last year, I would take it whenever it happened. Ladies and gentlemen, Tanner Carlson has just stepped into the studio amid reports that he wore Mavericks gear to the AT&T Center last night.
Don't be lying to people like that.
That's what some people are saying.
Hey, I wore white and black. It wasn't Spurs gear, but it was white.
But you did not have any Maverick. You were not wearing.
I had a white shirt with black sweatpants.
All right. Were you there on a credential or was it a ticket?
It was it pays for Charlie Parker to know you.
Ah,
He
okay.
had a couple extra tickets that he wasn't using.
Oh, good for him. Handing off the tickets. Yeah, I was talking a little trash going. If he went on a WOAI credential, the flagship station of the Spurs, and he wore Maverick gear, and he brought that Maverick mojo, which defeated the Spurs last night.
That did not happen. There wasn't going to wear a Doncic jersey. I said, dude, they're not even playing the Mavs.
Yeah.
If they were playing the Mavs, it would make sense. But
Right.
I hate that so much. It's like, just not wear any. Don't.
Yeah.
Gear.
Well, what I would hate worse was when they would play the Lakers, and I'd see Laker jerseys all over the AT&T Center, and you would ask them, "Hey, man, are you from LA?" "No, I'm from San Antonio." It's like, you grew up here. You've got a great team,
And you're wearing
Laker gear.
enemy.
Drove me crazy. All right, it's your mic. So, are you good on the link?
Yeah, I'm getting
Okay.
on right now.
Tanner's getting on the video feed. Shannon, here we come. Hour number 3, the 8:00 hour on this Earth Day, April 22nd, 2021. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Our thanks to Sam Freese, enduring the side effects of his second COVID vaccine, which he got yesterday. Playing a little hurt this morning, but doing a great job as he always does. We do appreciate it. And we are 1 week out from the NFL draft, and we have been talking NFL draft with Tanner Carlson pretty much since the Super Bowl, pretty much when the football season ended. And I said this earlier, Tanner, I don't know. I don't personally know. I mean, I see Mel Kiper Jr. I see people in the media. There are people I read their work online. I don't personally know another human being as into and locked in to the NFL draft as you are.
I try. I do it for the people. And, unfortunately, even if the people weren't involved, I would still be doing it on my own time anyway, just because I'm that much of a dork and that much of a nerd that has no life. But, no, it's just kind of one of those things that, the last couple of years I've gotten more and more into it. And every single year, so it kind of started with the whole Kiper's wrong on this or McShay's wrong on that. And I'm like, you know what, why don't I get my own opinion before I just listen to these boneheads?
Yeah.
Even though they know what they're talking about, obviously. But yeah, and it's way easier said than done. I'll leave it at that. You watch these guys, you're like, man, that guy's really good. I can see why, and a lot of it does have to go into what you think their ceiling is going to be, what their potential could be. So a lot of it does go into that. Their measurements. Oh, he's got the right body type for it. Everything looks like it should work. Why doesn't it work or whatever, or it may not work out, whatever the case is. But yeah, it just kind of started. I was like, well, all these other guys are throwing all these things out. Let me just watch let me do my own homework before I just start blindly listening to these folks. And, you try to get it as unbiased as possible without getting their perspective first and this, that, and the other. And so, yeah, I kind of start going and making my own list and my own big board, my own position rankings of where the guys should be and not be. And yeah, it just kind of has turned into a life of its own sort of a thing.
Now, you just called Mel Kiper Jr. and Todd McShay boneheads. Do you now that you dive in and do your own research, do you feel?
Oh, they know what they're talking about.
They do. Okay.
They know what they're talking about. Yeah.
But do you feel that you're one of their peers now?
No.
Are you okay?
I'm not going to just say that I'm up to that level.
I was kind of hoping you get a little cocky here.
No, because then people are going to be like, oh, well, Tanner said this about this guy and he's trash. He had a terrible rookie season. So I don't want to jump out on that level.
They will jump on you and Mike McCartney on Twitter.
Yeah,
apparently.
not Mike McCarthy. Yeah, Mike McCartney.
So Shannon, I guess the first order of business before we go back to the NFL, there were rumors that Shannon and I were talking about. You went to the Spurs game last night, and I had heard rumors that you were wearing Mavericks gear.
Who was spreading these
I
rumors?
saw it on Facebook Live. I saw somebody say Tanner went to the Spurs game last night, and the Spurs lost. So I'm assuming just by your being there that you brought bad Maverick mojo, which the Mavericks won last night and the Spurs lost. So we lost a game to you and Shannon's beloved Mavericks last night.
I was bringing my Dallas positive vibes into San Antonio. No, I was not wearing any Dallas gear. I was wearing a white t-shirt with black sweatpants and a black mask. So I was trying to go as Spurs as possible without actually wearing any Spurs gear. So I kind of, there's a little bit of a loophole that I pulled. Without wearing Spurs gear, I was wearing Spurs colors.
Shannon, would you do that if you went to the AT&T Center? You're a hardcore Mavericks fan. Would you don some Spurs colors?
Spurs colors? No.
No.
I'd wear normal clothes. I'm not like coming in a Dirk jersey.
Yeah, there was a guy wearing a Doncic jersey, and I almost called him out as a fellow Mavs fan. I said, dude, they're in Dallas literally playing right now. Why don't you just travel?
How big of a fan are you really?
Yeah, how much of a fan are you really? Why don't you just, get in your car, and drive up a little north ways and go to that game instead of being here watching the Spurs play the Heat. It didn't make.
Well, they tried to play the Heat.
Yeah, I don't like that though. I'm not a fan of you being a sports fan of another team and then you just are casually going to another game and then you wear your team's gear. That makes no sense to me at all. I was at a Cowboys Giants game at AT&T Stadium, and the dude, like caddy corner from us, was wearing an Eagles jersey. Ugh. What are you doing? Why are you there?
Ambiance.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's like when the Texas OU and the Cotton Bowl, the Great Divide, right? All crimson red on one side and all burnt orange on the other, except for that little space in the field goal where there are some crimson players to make up for the hole in the tunnel there. But then you have like one person wearing like bright green.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me, you should have never been let in.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I just
throwing off the vibe.
I don't get the whole like let me wear my team's jersey unless it's like a Super Bowl or an All-Star game. What? Sure,
All-Star game, yes.
Yeah, that's super acceptable. But anything other than that, no, you're not allowed to just wear whatever jersey you want if that team is not associated with that game.
But I think back to when I was a kid, and I'm still a hardcore Cowboys fan, but I would, for example, if I went to a Houston Texans game now, and back in the day it was the Oilers, I was such a hardcore Cowboys fan. I would have never, if I went to an Oilers game at the Astrodome, I would have never worn an Oilers jersey, even though I kind of liked them. It was like the Cowboys were my team. Yeah. So I could see myself maybe at age 17 or whatever, going to another stadium and it's like a Cowboys fan. Yeah, Cowboys. Yeah. Here's my Roger jersey. I can almost see it.
I have a story. I went to a Thursday night game in Kansas City. It was Oakland and it was Kansas City playing. And this was before Patrick Mahomes. This was the Alex Smith, Derek Carr game on Thursday night. And the NFL Network guys, the crew is there. So Michael Irvin's sitting there. Now, I'm not wearing any gear. It's also like -3 degrees. So there's no gear that to be had that would have been worn. So I would, bundled up or whatever. And we're kind of doing the whole college game day thing, watching the NFL Network guys do their pregame show. And I'm over there, go Dallas, go Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? And then Irvin during the commercial break turns around and goes, how about them Cowboys? And he points at me and I'm like, I love you, Michael. I love you.
That's great.
So that was super cool. And then I had Chiefs fans booing, Raiders fans booing. Nobody likes the Cowboys, no matter what conference or division you're in, whatever. So, but yeah, so Michael, it got Michael's attention for sure. So that was super cool. And I think that's acceptable in that scenario, but
very, very cool.
Anyway.
So, all right, we're 1 week out, the draft a week from today / tonight. Are you, do you feel like an extra vibe? Do you feel extra excitement now that we're going to really count it down from 1 week away?
Yeah. I've got X's on my calendar, marking the days off, how close we're getting. So I'm super excited. This is like Tanner's Christmas week leading up to like Christmas Eve. This is like the week before. It's like December 15th. I'm like right there. I can smell the sugar cookies and I can smell the chestnuts roasting on an open fire, but instead it's I can smell pigskin and I can smell, the nice fresh field of a freshly cut football field, early in the morning, sprinklers are on. So yeah, that's how I feel come draft week. It's right there at the beginning of the off season. And that's really where I get excited.
So I have to ask, what's your setup then for draft day?
Draft
Like, are
day.
you out partying with people who also get very excited about the draft? Or are you by yourself with 8 different computers and your phone going like you're Schefter? Or
His own war room.
Yeah,
the
I've-
Tanner Carlson war room.
I've got the war room. It kind of is.
chugging Red Bulls in the corner?
Yeah. Basically,
It's gonna be a late one.
it's gonna be a late night, ladies and gentlemen. No, it is kind of. I don't go out and because I have to listen to the diagnostics of each pick. I have to listen to the guys critique and analyze each pick, and so I'm in a room typically. Typically JC is with me, my wife, and she's just sitting there on her phone, not paying attention or caring as to what's going on. And I'm intently, watching each and every second of this thing going down. And so, it's usually me in a room, quiet by myself. Nobody else is talking to me. I'm focused. I'm zoned in, laser focused, as Tom Brady would say.
See, I prefer. That's how I watch the Super Bowl. That's why I
Yeah.
can't stand it. It's like we've been watching football since August. It's the freaking Super Bowl. It's the game of all games. I don't want to be at a party talking with somebody munching on his Doritos, asking me stupid questions. I want to lock in on the game, so I can totally relate to that.
And I'm that way with the Super Bowl, and I'm that way with Cowboy games. And now I can go to any other game if you want to have a Sunday night football watch party and the Cowboys are not playing, I'll be there and I'll enjoy myself, whatever.
Yeah.
But I will not watch a game. I'm not going to a bar to watch a Cowboy game. I will not, because it won't end well, because I know how they're going to play. First of all, if I'm in public, the Cowboys are not going to play well. So it's just to embarrass me as a Cowboys fan. So I refuse to go out in public to watch any Cowboy game. I sit in my house or in my living room, typically by myself or with my wife, and there's no talking. There's talking between us because we're typically moaning and groaning about the Cowboys. But it's just I refuse to have the negative energy, and then that one Redskin fan behind me or Washington football team fan behind me chirping and chiming and he poking at me and stuff, and I can't handle that type of stress during an actual game.
It is rough
Yeah.
being a Cowboys fan in most recent years at a bar when they lose. Let's dive back in right now to the NFL draft. I want to ask you, there's so many things we already know. We know Trevor Lawrence is going number one. Most people believe Zach Wilson going to the New York Jets. I guess one early storyline, are the 49ers really going for Mac Jones, or might they go in another direction? What are some of the early storylines that you were intrigued by in this draft?
Along with the quarterbacks, obviously, really, we would think that the positions for the quarterbacks is going to be 1, 2, 3. We don't know who that number 3 guy is going to be yet. Also, pass rushers. I think that's a very interesting take, because there are some storylines I've heard, the Giants with David Gettleman, he wants to go pass rusher, but is there a pass rusher that you should take that early? And then so now there are kind of these little murmurs that the Giants maybe want to trade back. And so and maybe take a Kwity from Michigan or Gregory Rousseau. And then, how many of these pass rushers are actually worth a day 1 pick, and how many of them are great value day 2 picks? And they're all kind of that first little wave of edge rushers. And then there's not much after that. So you're going to get an initial 6, 7 guys who can make an impact on your team, but there's 6, 7 guys are not going to make it in the league. Only about half of those guys, if you're lucky, are even going to be viable starters or contributors for your team. So I think edge rusher, which is a very important position to a football team, is a very sketchy kind of 50-50 hit or miss type of a position in this year's draft. So that's kind of interesting to me. And it sucks as a Cowboys fan, because you're like, all right, we have a chance to possibly get the best defensive player in this draft just because the offensive talent. And then now you're looking at, well, there's not really that Chase Young. There's not a Joey Bosa. There's not a Nick. There's not a guy that's like, all right, that's the number 1 defensive player in the draft. You take the best defensive player. There's not that guy this year. So Dallas does have some work to do, I think, when it comes to drafting defense this year.
Shannon, what about you? Anything as the draft kicks off a week from today and tonight? Is there one early storyline that intrigues you?
We're so lucky to have Tanner, because he is the complete opposite of me in the draft. I always view the draft much like I do recruiting, where they're great storylines, and you look to where these guys are going to end up going. But I don't really care what you've done before. It's all about what you're going to do for me when you get on the football field for your college or your NFL team. So I don't go in as hard as Tanner does. Now, yesterday there was a big story that came out about the Ohio State quarterback. Justin Fields, and that he apparently suffers from epilepsy that he is working on. And I don't know enough about it and enough about him really to know how much that would hurt his draft stock. But in this draft where there are so many quarterbacks and they're saying they could even go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what does that do to that? Is there a hiccup to someone who thought they were gonna, is that blow someone's draft completely out of the water who thought they were gonna take him first? I don't know if you know much about this story, Tanner, but I'd be interested on your take on what that would do to a team who thought maybe he'd be their guy.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. You kind of just have to go based on what you've seen from him. That's really all you can do. And a lot of these draft storylines get so absurd in terms of, oh, he had an incomplete pass on a pro day. What does that mean? There's so many over exaggerating storylines leading up to the draft. And at the end of the day, what I always do is you go back and you watch the tape. What does he do on the football field? End of story. No other workouts, no other this, no other that. Does he have off the field issues? And what does he do on the football field? Is he a good player? And is he a good person? Those are the two things that you really need to worry about. And it doesn't seem as though that has had any issues on his career up to this point in terms of high school and college and his days at Ohio State and stuff like that. So I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I do think that this draft is going to be set up for any team that wants defense is going to be looking to trade back. And any team that needs some offensive help, say Washington, say New England, say Chicago, and that little kind of group of teams right there that need some offense and already have a somewhat established defense, they're going to be trading up. So look at Atlanta at number 4. They could possibly trade back. The Giants could trade back. Dallas could trade back. There are teams, Denver, who's sitting at 9. They could be looking at, like what Shannon said, if you're thinking of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with quarterbacks, are you going to be trying to trade up with Cincinnati? Could Cincinnati go back a couple spots? Could Atlanta go back a couple spots? So be looking for these teams that are defensive needy to trade back. Teams that are looking for some offense, they're going to be trading up because it's a very top heavy draft when it comes to offense.
Now you say Dallas at number 10 could trade back because obviously they have defensive needs. Yet on Fridays, we have Paul Alexander on this show, who is a Cowboys historian and a Cowboys freak like you. And I was surprised when I brought up Kyle Pitts, as I'm prone to do. Should the Cowboys just, because I'm looking at The Athletic today. They're ranking all the top 300 players just on talent and impact. Number 1, Trevor Lawrence. Number 2, Kyle Pitts, tight end of Florida. And you said earlier, Tanner, there's not that Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa transformative defensive player you might go up to number 5 and get.
Right.
If the Cowboys did the wild move and moved up to grab Kyle Pitts, would you be outraged and swearing at your television as a Cowboys fan a week from today?
You don't trade up for a tight end, but you do let a tight end fall to you at number 10 and then consider it. I'm not trading. I'm not giving future first round picks for a tight end. I don't care if it's Travis Kelce. I don't care if it's Rob Gronkowski. I'm not giving future first round picks for a tight end. I'm just not. You do that for a quarterback. You do it for a left tackle. You do it for an edge rusher. And those are the only positions you give future picks for. Even if he's a wide receiver or something like that, I'm still hesitant on doing that. I know he's transcendent. I know he's generational, but if he falls to 10, I'm okay with Dallas considering it. I still think you go in another direction. I still think you focus on that defense. There's a guy out of Miami. His name is Brevin Jordan. He will be there in the 3rd round. You can take a tight end who is just as athletic, not as transcendent, not as generational talent-wise, but has the same skill set as Kyle Pitts. You can get that guy from Miami instead and probably still be happy with those results if that's the direction you want to go with your team. If you think tight end is that much of a priority, there's a guy later on in the draft that's still available for you to do that. I also think when it comes to the whole Kyle Pitts thing, he just had a great interview with Jerry, and he had his little virtual visit. You can go on the Cowboys website. They've got the whole video there for you and his whole interview. And what he said, what jumped out to me, he said, the best defender that I faced my entire career at Florida was cornerback J.C. Horn from South Carolina. And that is my number 1 corner. That's my guy. I say at number 10, you get your guy with Horn because Kyle Pitts gave him the nod of, he said, you know what? The best defender I faced was this guy right here, which would be sitting in your lap at number 10. That's where I would go.
And interestingly, you have been touting him over Patrick Surtain of Alabama week in and week out here when we've talked to you about it.
They're very similar players in terms of their physical size, their length, everything like that. I like Horn's physicality and his speed and his aggressiveness. Surtain's the kind of guy who's, I'm going to let the route runner, I'm going to let the wide receiver come to me, and then I'm going to play him accordingly. And he's going to be a concern. He's very much, and if you like Byron Jones, which you should because he's a good corner, he's very much a Byron Jones-esque type of corner when it comes to, I'm just going to play my man and I'm not going to let the quarterback throw to him because he's not going to be open. But J.C. Horn, he's kind of the other style where he's going to get up in your face. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to get more interceptions than Surtain, but he might allow a touchdown or more than Surtain will. So it just kind of depends on your preference. I'm more of a physical guy. I want to be up in your face. I want to put pressure on the offense and let quarterbacks be scared to throw to me because I'm going to pick you off, not because your guy's not going to be open.
He is Tanner Carlson. You want to follow him on Twitter. He's the new Mel Kiper Jr., only with better hair. And well, I'm sure we're going to grab you again next week, Tuesday, and then on draft day, a week from today. And I'm sure things are going to amp up in a big, big way. Always outstanding. Have a great weekend and gear up for this draft.
Oh yeah, I'm practicing my wings. Each hand, I've got a drumstick in one hand. I've got a flat in the other, and I'm practicing making sure I get the right wing eating formation for draft day.
We should have your war room on the website on Facebook Live. Live from the Tanner Carlson war room
for the Tanner Carlson
with instant reaction from Tanner Carlson.
That's actually not a horrible thing.
It's not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
We might have to consider that for
all three people who would tune in would be extremely entertained.
We might like you, me, and Shannon from different locations. We might have to consider that for next Thursday. All right. Tanner Carlson on Twitter at Tanner Carlson 20. Outstanding, sir. Have a great day.
Yep, you too.
Quick break. Coming up, we will scour the world of sports, spanning the globe on an Earth Day to bring you the constant variety of sports. We'll see what's popping out there, what you need to know as you get ready for this Thursday, April 22nd in the world of sports. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney, Sam Freese generating the show this morning. It's the Chris Duel Show.
So I was thinking with our mock draft,
yeah.
Instead of us just doing one mock draft, how about we all come in with our own draft, and then you go through yours, you go through hers.
Yeah, I
and not like real intensive, like we go like first round who you got, kind of
right
go around the table.
Okay.
Second round who you got, and we don't have to do all 7 rounds if we want to do 4.
Right.
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I want to do something, and I thought about. For us to do because you're so into it, you could do who might the Cowboys get in round 4. I think that's so granular for me and maybe Shannon that might be too deep into the weeds for us. But I do want to come up with something fun like that.
And if you guys want to do the first 2 rounds or first 3 rounds, and then I do the back end of it.
Okay. Yeah, we've got – I definitely want to do something like that on Thursday on day of that's – fun. And I was thinking and I don't necessarily love this, but like we each pick 3 teams that we think Sam Ehlinger might go to, see if any of us hit that one, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That'd be fun. Or we can just do an alternating, let's do the first 10 picks of the draft or something.
True.
Up to Dallas' pick or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then you have first pick, second pick, third, and we just kind of go and just do the first 10.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something.
Yeah, I do want to do something like that.
Something there that we can do that would be kind of easy and not too exhausting for the listener to listen.
Yeah, let's trade some ideas back and forth and just try to come up with the best idea.
Yeah.
But I like that one too.
Yeah.
So
that might be something to. And then if you do 10, you end it off with Dallas. Obviously.
yeah, and so that's like the big reveal.
Yeah.
So okay. Yeah, and then we can debate whether you go Horn or we go Surtain, and of course I'm a Kyle Pitts person, so
it'll be tough to remember this for Tuesday, but I do think for Tuesday's conversation, I want to have a conversation. If Sewell, Pitts, Slater, Surtain, and Horn are all off the board, what do you do if you're Dallas?
wow. Okay.
If your 5 main guys are all gone,
Okay.
they won't be. But if they are, what do you do at 10?
Gotcha. Okay. That's
I think
good.
that would be an interesting.
Yeah, that's real good.
Worst case scenario draft.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
but We'll try to remember that.
All right. Okay.
Anyway, all right, man.
Sounds good. Thanks so much. John, are the Oscars this weekend? I lost track of that if that's the case. Yeah, I liked a lot of really good Oscars movies this year. I just saw Mank on Netflix over the weekend or 2 nights ago. It was really good. I'm going to toss my coffee since I'm done with it. I'll be right back. All right, Carl. Starbucks. Free coffee for your birthday. Sweet. Let's see. What's happening?
I don't hate anyone, but there are things that I do hate, especially in baseball.
Okay.
Two rules.
Okay.
Playing 7-inning doubleheaders.
Yeah. It just seems odd.
Starting extra innings with a runner on second.
Yeah.
I hate those things.
That just seems unbaseball like to me.
Not keeping with the purity of the game.
Yes.
Just wanted to tell you.
I got to get you in sometime to talk about that. Let's do that soon. Okay. Somebody called LeBron disgraceful and dangerous. Tom Cotton. Let's see. Where did that go? Am I still there? Thank you, sir. Welcome back. Final half hour of the Chris Duel show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Very nice. And I have to check in, Shannon, with Sam Freese, our soundscape stylist, on loan from the Mike Taylor show, my personal canary in a coal mine, because he got his second COVID shot 24 hours before I get mine. I get mine a little more than that. He got his in the morning yesterday. I get mine at 1:30 this afternoon. And as we talked about in the 6 o'clock hour, Sam was fine last night when I came and did the Spurs broadcast, at least this end of it over here in the studio. But by this morning, Sam was kind of hurting. Sam, 3 hours in, any improvement? Are you worse? Are you the same? How are you feeling? Oh,
I hope for the best for you, but I am shivering and shaking in here.
Oh God.
Off a runny nose, got a pounding headache. It's good times, man.
See, and you're a big tough guy. I'm kind of a weasel, and I don't tolerate pain well. So I mean, if I had the exact same symptoms that you do, I have a feeling you would handle them better than I would. Just a hunch.
I appreciate the confidence in my toughness, but if I had to say, if there's one kryptonite in my arsenal, I could lose a foot and I would not be in as bad of a mood as when I just have a sniffly nose.
Oh,
it just drives my ass insane. I just hate it. So I'm going to be fairly miserable here until this stops. But Mike, I mean, from Mike's experience, his side effects only lasted like 4 to 6 hours. So hopefully go get a nap here and by this afternoon have a little more life in me.
Yeah, I've heard that from a few people that it can be just 4 or 5 hours. So I'm hoping for you that's the case. And again, man, we appreciate your coming in here, doing what you're doing and going through it as you are. So, Shannon, I'm noticing a couple of things. I'm scrolling through TMZ Sports. We talked earlier about LeBron James tweeting out the police officer in the Columbus, Ohio shooting of the 16-year-old girl, shooting that happened 30 minutes before the Derek Chauvin verdict came down. And a senator, I hadn't seen this one, a senator from Arkansas, Tom Cotton, tweeting out to LeBron James, calling him disgraceful and dangerous, saying LeBron James is inciting violence against an Ohio police officer. This is disgraceful and dangerous. Is the NBA okay with this? Is Twitter And again, Shannon, we talked a lot about it earlier in the show. I don't think, while it can be interpreted as he's inciting violence against that police officer, I think you can also certainly interpret it as you're next. Derek Chauvin got justice through the judicial system for what he did to George Floyd, and you're next for what LeBron is saying, what he did to, in this case, Ma'Khia Bryant, the 16-year-old girl in Columbus, Ohio. But I mean, it seems like throughout the day here, Shannon, and if you're just tuning in, LeBron did take that tweet down. He had another couple of other tweets expressing his frustration and to some extent explaining himself, but got a feeling we're going to hear a lot more about this story throughout the day.
Yeah, it's just getting started. The Lakers play tonight. My Mavs, I believe.
Ooh, that's right. Ooh, and Anthony Davis. Woo.
Me yesterday,
Yeah.
Chris. I guess I'd rather get him when he's just coming back than like being back a couple games, because maybe they will, just be testing the waters a bit. But it would have been nice if they had just waited one more game. But I'm sure this conversation will loom large over the game tonight.
We're also finding out more. We talked about this earlier in the week. Sterling Brown of the Houston Rockets got into an altercation that got violent at a nightclub a few nights ago, and he had facial lacerations and other things. Again, looking at TMZ Sports right now, their headline saying that Sterling Brown, quote, suffered horrific. They used the term horrific injuries in Miami attack, and they said teammates feared for his life. And there's more reporting now on what happened. Apparently, he came out of the nightclub and got into the wrong car. He jumped into somebody's car as a passenger, thinking it was his teammate, Kevin Porter Jr., who was there with him. And apparently it is the people in that car who decided to attack him. Including other things, cracking him on the head with a liquor bottle. The glass opened gashes on his face. Just an awful situation for Sterling Brown of the Houston Rockets.
That's scary to think it's because he got in the wrong car. Now, did both parties probably have a little bit in their system? So that's probably why he got in the wrong car.
Yeah.
And also why they reacted the way they did. But I can't tell you how many times I've come out of HEB, specifically like with my mom, who drives like a white Lexus that every other mom in the neighborhood drives, and that we've gone to the wrong car multiple times and have like the doors open, and then you realize, oh, that's not my interior, that's a different color interior. And like it happens quite often, I think, more. But I mean, I don't, the fact that it went to that level. I saw a video on TikTok a couple weeks ago where a woman was filming a TikTok, and in the middle of it, she realized she had gotten her coffee, gotten in the car, and was driving away in the wrong car. Turned back around.
How'd the car start?
The man out. It was like an older man's car, and
Okay.
they both left their cars running just to like run in, get their coffee, and come back out.
Okay.
And the older man was there, and he didn't press charges or anything. She was just already having a day, and but you see her reaction in the middle of her recording this TikTok of, oh my God, this is not my car. Could you imagine if you
Oh my God.
if you accidentally committed grand theft auto?
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking as we're talking about getting into the wrong car or getting into the wrong place at the wrong time, I think back at the beginning of the football season, you had that Tom Brady story where Tom Brady was new to Tampa. He was going into a neighborhood to a coach's house and walked into the wrong head, just walked in the front door, and it's Tom Brady.
That guy had a weapon on him or something, and felt he needed protection, and maybe he had a bad experience before, and oh my gosh, Tom Brady. He's got lacerations on his face.
Could happen. I mean,
would be dominating the headlines more than Mr. I got in the wrong car. But that's awful. I don't want to see a picture of his face because I'm sure
I don't either. Yeah.
Horrible. I mean, I can, the few times I've like accidentally cut myself with glass on my finger, it's like the worst thing ever that I can't, for that to be on your face. No, thank you.
But one other piece of information in the Sterling Brown assault, when he came out of the club, got into the wrong car, got beaten up, hit in the head and the face with a liquor bottle, which broke and then gashed his face with the glass. We now know that the club that he was coming out of was called the Booby Trap Strip Club in Miami.
Now they're going to get in trouble for going to a strip club, right?
I would.
Doesn't that violate the safety protocols currently.
I think it does. And again, and I know boys will be boys and young men love their strip clubs. And apparently there's a lot of NBA players who love strip clubs, but I'm sorry, but to a certain extent, I hear that and I'm a little less. I mean, obviously I want nothing violent to happen to anybody, much less Sterling Brown, but I'm a little less sympathetic for some reason that this happened coming out of a strip club.
Why did homie have a liquor bottle in his car? And I would assume it'd be an open liquor bottle because it'd be a lot harder to break like that if it was full.
True.
And shut.
Well, I guess if you go to a strip club, I mean, some strip clubs
service, they let you walk out with the bottles.
Possible.
I mean,
I've heard of that. I've heard of bring your own, that, you bring your own in, and I've heard of that before. I don't know what the deal is in Florida.
But still, like when you drive around with it, it's not supposed to be in reach, right?
No.
Like open container.
True. Yeah. Not good. Not good. And something else, you brought this up when we were talking with Tanner Carlson, shifting gears. And I think it could become a big story. And you and I didn't discuss it other than briefly with Tanner. Justin Fields, the Ohio State quarterback, as you mentioned, Shannon, revealing that he has epilepsy. And while Tanner said that he doesn't think that would be a big deal because it did not affect his Ohio State career, and we don't think it affected his high school career, you think about an NFL team about to make an investment, maybe with a number 4 draft pick, maybe with a number 5, 6, 7 draft pick, that level of quarterback. And certainly, I'm not a doctor. I don't know a lot about epilepsy, although I have been in public before with people and seen, someone actually have a seizure, and you find out and they help that person and you find out that it might have been an epileptic seizure, which can happen. But I just wonder, and obviously I would assume, as Tanner said, Justin Fields has kept this, not allowed this to affect his playing career in college. And I hate to see anybody lose some draft status over something like this, but you just think of the level of investment that an NFL team makes in any first round draft pick, much less the quarterback who you want to be the leader of your team and the face of your franchise for the next 15 years. And I can't help but believe that some NFL executives would look at that and maybe downgrade to some extent his draft status a little bit.
Yeah, and like just like you, I don't really know much about epilepsy. I don't know if it gets better or worse with age and time. I don't know if there are different severities of it, and so all of those factors are probably playing into the minds of these NFL scouts. They're probably probing for more information other than just that. Hey, I'm diagnosed with this.
Yeah. Yeah, and
a week before.
Yeah, and I imagine the smart thing for NFL executives would be obviously seek medical opinion. I'm sure, as you and I say, we don't know a lot about epilepsy, but certainly there would be doctors out there who could advise them as to, what the implications might be.
Yep.
But amazing. And I look at Justin Fields, and during the Spurs game last night, I was kind of, Bill Schoening in my ear, Spurs game on TV. I'm in the studio, but I also, now that we're a week out from the draft, I'm seeing what the NFL Network is putting out there, and they're showing a lot of these quarterbacks pro days. And I saw Mac Jones and I saw Justin Fields, and that is one of the questions, certainly for the 49ers. Is it a smoke screen that they want Mac Jones out of Alabama, or might they really want Justin Fields, who seems to be a much more dynamic athlete? And you might think in the modern day NFL, you want the more dynamic quarterback. But just looking at their pro days, I continue to wonder if Justin Fields and Alabama has the same rap on quarterbacks as well. They don't seem to be creating a lot of quarterbacks. They don't seem to be a quarterback factory. And there have been recent quarterbacks out of Ohio State who have disappointed. And I just wonder if Justin Fields is falling victim to that to some extent.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. I mean, just what happened with Washington this year. I mean, the guys, even though they hail from these fantastic schools that, make the playoffs and win championships, that doesn't seem to convert over to the NFL for whether it's on the field issues or off the field issues. So I think that's definitely a bit of we're hearing it a lot for players from all over Alabama, right? I mean, Heisman winner was weighed in at 166 as a wide receiver yesterday. 166. That's pretty little for a guy that's wanting to be an NFL player. So and then again, their argument of, well, they're Alabama, they had all that talent around them. It's easy to be really great when everybody else is really great. That's not necessarily the case in the NFL. So
Yeah.
I agree with you that could be part of it. And again, with Ohio State, we got such a small sample size this year, right? They went to the playoffs
True.
having only played 5 games. And who knows what would have happened? Maybe Michigan might have finally won a game over them with Jim Harbaugh.
Yet another factor. Yeah, the small sample size.
No, or John Harbaugh, John, one of the Harbaughs. So yeah, and San Fran was it was such a weird year for them last year with all the injuries. I don't know that I could sit here and really tell you that a quarterback is going to fix their problems, or if it was just the fact that everyone was so injury prone that they just never were able to get it all together.
Do you have the poll question in front of you?
Oh yeah, asking what your favorite planet is today. Earth.
On Earth
Leading
Day.
the way on Earth Day. Congratulations.
Earth is the big winner. The runner-up seems to be Saturn. Planet Lovetron, nowhere in the comments. Shannon, outstanding as always.
Thank you, sir.
I hope to see you tomorrow after my COVID shot. I trust. Sir. Sam Freese, feel better, brother. You'll hear Sam on the Mike Taylor Show and the Sports Grind a little bit later. For Sam Freese and for Shannon, I'm Chris. Thanks to Tanner Carlson. We will see you in 21 hours. Have a great Earth Day Thursday. Adios.